Realtree's Midwest Whitetail is brought to you by Cabela's, Cuddyback, America's Best Bowstrings, Drake Non-Typical, Easton Arrows, Frigid Forage, Fuse, Grizzly Coolers, Hoyt, Hoyman Tree Saws, Lone Wolf Tree Stands, Nikon, Ozonics, Redneck Blinds, RTP Outdoors, Spot Hog Releases, Wasp Archery, Viking Solutions, and Realtree.
Hey everyone, Alex Valley here with Midwest Whitetail Great Lakes. Today is October 4th. It's a Thursday afternoon. We had a big cold front that rolled through in the Midwest here. Actually here in Wisconsin, in the part of Wisconsin I'm in, southeastern Wisconsin, we had roughly a 30-degree temperature swing overnight. Yesterday was in the 80s, today is down in kind of the low to mid 50s for the high. So I always love those big temperature swings like that, those big cold fronts that roll through, especially early mid-October. So I had to get out in a stand. So anyways, I'm back out here tonight on the local spot that Alex Kisslinger and I were on a couple weeks ago, with the hopes of either ideally having a nice buck that comes in. I did have, like I said before, I did have some 2-year-olds that showed some really good potential last year. I wouldn't be opposed to shooting one of those if they've put on some more antler, but otherwise I'll take a doe as well. So we're gonna sit here tonight. While I was setting up, actually, I did have a doe and a fawn that kind of came across this hillside right as I was getting into the stand. So I think this cold front has them on their feet. So hopefully we get one that comes in close enough for us. So stick with us. Hey everyone, it's about 6 o'clock, so I just wanted to check in quick. Haven't seen any deer yet. I can hear some deer, and I was hearing some deer kind of earlier back behind me on this ridge. I think there's some white oaks back in there, so I'm guessing that they're probably back in there feeding on those acorns. With that said, though, we do have some alfalfa kind of out in front of me here that I'm hoping that they start making their way towards. That's normally what they do in this spot. They kind of mill around back in here, and then they start heading out towards that ag. So I'm going to sit here the rest of the night, see what happens, but hopefully we get a deer that comes through. Well, it's about 6:30 here, so I'm probably going to start packing up in a couple minutes. I'm starting to run out of camera light. As soon as that sun went down, it got kind of chilly out here, which I'm loving that. It's starting to feel more and more like fall, so I'm excited. We got a long season ahead of us here, so hopefully we can have some action here. But tonight we had those couple does that came through in that fawn. They were definitely a little bit out of range. That's the second time that I've had deer cut through that same area. Actually, I moved the stand from that spot over to this spot this year. Because I kept having deer come from kind of back behind me, down through some brush right in here, and then out into the fields. It seems like they may have kind of shifted how they're moving through here. So next time I come out, I may end up moving a stand. We'll see. But at least we were able to see some deer out here tonight. So stick with us. We'll be back in the woods possibly this week or possibly this weekend. Otherwise, for sure over the next week at some point here. So it'll just kind of depend on weather. But anyways, thanks for joining me tonight, and good luck if you guys are getting out.
It's Friday, October 5th, and I just got out to our property here in central Wisconsin, and it's about 3:45 in the afternoon, and I'm set up over our Tamaracks food plot. Brandon and I actually hunted here last Sunday night, and we saw a ton of deer, but pretty much all just does. We had one spike in here, but I pulled the camera last week, and there was a ton of deer in here. There were a ton of bucks in the plot, so I'm hoping one of our hit listers shows up tonight. We've got a perfect wind, and I actually accessed this a different way than I usually do. I ended up walking down the ditch that is right behind this food plot, and hopefully just to eliminate as much scent walking in here. Last week we ran into a few issues with some of the deer catching our ground scent on the trail that we usually walk in, so wanted to prevent anything from happening tonight. But it was crappy out all day, and the rain's finally kind of cleared up, and hopefully we have a good sit tonight. Well, I've got about 10 minutes left of light here, and the night's coming to an end, but we saw a bunch of deer tonight. They came to the food plot and worked around and ate all night long pretty much, but fortunately didn't see any bigger bucks. We did have a spike and a smaller 4 or 6 pointer come out into the plot, but me and my dad are going to be back out here this Sunday and hopefully get it done then. Thanks for watching.
Hey everyone, welcome to Midwest Whitetail, Great Lakes. I just want to give you an update. Today's October 5th, and tomorrow begins the youth season here in Wisconsin. And my last interview had Nadia in high hopes of going out hunting, and we took the 243 to the range, and she just didn't feel comfortable, thought it was a little bit too loud, and even with hearing protection. But I don't want to push her, so if she wants to come around or just keep practicing with the bow and arrow, that's totally fine by me. So I'm not going to push that, which just leads me to checking cameras. I've been out probably a half a dozen times by now, maybe 4 or 5 times, and I've had 2 run-ins with this buck I call Chunky. He's 5 years old. He lives on the west end of the farm, and both times have just been at last light. The first night he got into 40 yards, and then the next night I was leaving, I was walking out, and I was coming up a ridge or a rise of alfalfa, and sure enough he was just silhouetted standing on the top, and I looked through my binoculars and it's no doubt him. So I kind of been stuck twice actually, and I'm surprised I didn't bugger him out of the area after the first time. So he's one buck that I've been seeing. This buck I call King, who's the number 2 on the list. He's a nice 4-year-old with one real long brow and then just not much on the other, but a beautiful, I would say what I would call him is a 9-point this year, 9-point frame, kind of missing a brow. So he's weird. He's like a 5x3. No, anyways, 5x4 in a strange way. But anyways, I saw him a half mile away on the other side of the ridge here last night, and he looks real good. He's got a lighter colored rack. He hung on to his velvet later than most bucks, but I've yet to get a picture of him in the last month and a half. So I'm just being patient. This kind of marks we're at that October 5th. I'm watching bucks. They're out together, but they're all sparring. So it's not very long until they are completely separated. And those younger bucks will put on a lot more ground. And so I know my trail cameras are going to start to reveal these bucks that I've been missing here in the next week or two, leading up to kind of Halloween. And then by the time the rut is here, which is crazy, it's only about a month away, we're gonna have bucks crisscrossing all through these ridges. So stay tuned. I'm really excited. I just want to bring you that update, and I'll be hitting the woods hard about a week from now. Thanks.
What? We're here at another Walmart trying to get my license. We struck out 2 times already, so we're hoping that we can get this one. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning, after 8, and I had my deer by this time last year, so we're just hoping we can get one. I nailed the deer, but no blood. No catching the deer.
That's the shot right there.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. It's like ready.
Cash just like, give me the meat.
What do you think, Isaac? It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, what a huge deer.
Hey, welcome to Midwest Whitetail Great Lakes. We're heading up to our farm in central Michigan right now. We've kind of got one buck we're targeting up here. He's a beautiful 9-point, we call him Texas. We haven't seen him in a few weeks on our trail cameras. We think he's possibly hunting, kind of hanging out in the back of the property. We're dealing with a little bit of rain tonight. We were gonna go over and hunt the cedar tree, but if it's going to keep raining, we're probably going to head to one of the box blinds. And we're not really sure what we're going to see tonight. It's one of our first hunts in Michigan. It'd be nice to get out to kind of see what's moving around. If you look down here, what we did is we sawed off a branch, stuck it in the ground. We used the old umbrella stick from the beach, put that in there. We stuck that in there, and we hung one from that. Obviously, we did put it by a trail, so maybe a deer's walking by. You know, it might be one of those things where it just buys you that few seconds if you need a shot, or possibly we can get some footage of an animal and just, you know, start doing some inventory and see what we have. It's such an early part of the season for us. it's raining today. We're actually sitting up at a box blind. Normally we would be in a tree somewhere, but we don't want to be out there getting rained on, and the next thing you know, one of us are sick or both of us are sick. So if you're going to be out this year, don't be afraid to do any tricks or anything you guys can to get those deer close. So this is just one of the ones we're trying for this year. Well, it's October 7th. That's our hunt for pretty much the day. They call for rain all the rest of the weekend. It's early in the bow season. It's rainy. We're kind of locked into our bow blind for the day. It's not our first choice. We've got a few trees we'd like to get into, get up close and personal on some of the thick stuff. We haven't seen much, but a small dose this morning. Hopefully something decides that wants to wander by us. It's just nice to get out in the woods.